What's going on, Wiz Nation? Coming back at you guys with another episode of State of the Wizards. This is episode 19. I'm your host, Dcan, along with my co-host, Kjose. Kjose, what's going on, my man?
What's going on with you, my dude? How you feeling this evening?
I'm feeling great, man. As you see, we got the new logo here. We got the new introduction. We just continuing the roll,
Mm-hmm.
So,
Rolling with the punches, my dude. We rolling with the punches.
yes, sir. So we got a lot of good things to talk about tonight, man. It's been a while since we last did an episode together. We
Mm-hmm.
covered some things about the team, not being fans of Dinwiddie in our not the last State of the Wizards episode, but in our last podcast together you did with me on Wiz Takes.
Right.
We can probably just dive a little deeper into that on this episode if you like. But with this episode, man, we're going to talk about a couple of things. Number one being, Bill was Bill snubbed as an all-star, or was he just not an all-star this year? That's one topic. Another topic, we're going to talk about the potential trades that we see lined up right now, whether or not the Wizards are going to be involved with these deals or not. We'll talk about that. And then we got news today that Sashi Brown, one of the executives over at Monumental Sports, has left the organization. He's gone back into the NFL to
Right.
join the Baltimore Ravens.
Right.
All right, so we'll touch on that as well. Before we get started, we got to do our normal shout out, but this is going to be a little different tonight. As promised, I told, Wizards Verse that State of the Wizards, you and I, would show our followers some love. So not only are we going to plug ourselves in, but we're going to plug our followers in as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if this is your first time tuning in, thank you for tuning in to State of the Wizards, episode 19. Uh, Please follow me at Wizards Mafia, along with my co-host DC Hoopla at DC Hoopla. And thank you to Logo Hog. Special thank you to Logo Hog for looking out for us on the logo. He did a great job. Did you want to
Shout
have
out
something
to
to say
you.
to Logo Hog?
Yeah, shout out to Logo Hall for also doing my logo as well. You guys can see it on IG, YouTube, and Twitter. So shout out to Logo Hall for DC Hoopla.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Shout out to at Logo Hog. Make sure you guys go follow him at Logo Hog on Twitter. Also, follow at District Mamba. Also, follow at J Blackspeed. Follow at, I want to say, Omera Zule 8.
Yeah.
Follow at Lover 31. Follow at Tony Toss Lucas.
Yes, sir.
Follow at Guy BM 370. Salute.
Salute.
Guy at Chiquito YNWA. Follow at DC Sports, My View. Follow Muhammad M. Follow Justin Russet. And last but not least, on this episode, we'll do some more after this. If you didn't make the cut, don't worry. We'll shout you out in future episodes. Follow at B4L Hip Hop. And thank you guys for constantly showing State of the Wizards love. And thank you for always, responding and showing us love on Twitter as well. All right. So let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about tonight would be, Bill didn't make the All-Star team.
Right.
All right. Is this so what I noticed on Twitter is that a lot of people were saying, why didn't Beal get the recognition this season? You know, he's averaging, you know, numbers that are respectable in a sense. Why didn't he get chosen as an all-star? Just give me your take real short on why you believe Beal didn't make the all-star team this year.
Because he's having a down year. I mean, he's been playing subpar all season. So he didn't get snubbed. He just didn't make the cut because his numbers didn't say that he made the cut. Compared to last year when he was a starter and he actually led all guards in the East in voting, a lot of that could be due to the fact that he played alongside Russell Westbrook. But this season, he's down in pretty much every statistical category that he has. He's pretty much playing his worst. He's actually having one of his worst seasons since he's been a Wizard.
Right.
So if we're going to talk about snubs, maybe you want to talk about guys like Lonzo Ball. LaMelo that didn't make it. You know, a Jared Allen that didn't make it. These guys are playing at a high level. Beal is not playing at a high level this year, so I don't think he got snubbed. They made the right decision.
Yeah. Beal right now is shooting, I believe, 45%, which isn't a career low, but he had a slow start to the season.
Exactly.
He is shooting, however, a career low in three-point percentage.
Right.
Beal, in my opinion, at 23 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds a game, was kind of a late bloomer this season. And these games that we've lost with Beal were games that, in my opinion, you know, he could have been the difference maker of, but he wasn't in a lot of these losses. A lot of these losses we lost to below average teams that we shouldn't have lost to with him on the court.
Right.
And so a lot of this gets factored in when we're talking about all-star voting, okay? Being an all-star isn't just scoring the basketball. I think it's safe to say that. Being an all-star is also contributing in other ways that essentially put you above everybody else. And so, you know, Fred VanVleet, for example, is having a great year for Toronto. All right. They're not even supposed to be as good as they are. Right. But Fred VanVleet, along with a couple of those other guys out there, we've played them this year. Those are hoopers over there, man.
Right.
Like you said, LaMelo Ball, he's had a fantastic year. He was more so of a snub, in my opinion.
Yeah, he was.
So, you know, and I can go down the list of people who made it, but we're not going to spend too much time on this. We're just making like this point here is just factoring in that Beal, in my opinion, and maybe in your opinion, is because, like you said, he's having a down year. He shouldn't even be mentioned with other all-stars. If Beal was doing this and he was having career high numbers, and let's say if he was shooting 45% from 3, then that's an argument to be made. You
Absolutely.
know, if we're sitting at the record that we're sitting at and Beal is having, you know, 30 points per game, 45% from 3, you know, barely 2 turnovers a game. I mean, those are all-star numbers, you know?
Right.
So that's all we wanted to point out.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's move on. So Beal is not an all-star. The Wizards right now are in so trade deadline's coming up. So the Wizards are indeed on the cusp of possibly making some moves.
Right.
As we saw earlier today, the Blazers and the Clippers made a trade. We know that they traded Covington and Powell to the Clippers for Bledsoe, Keon Johnson, and there was another player in that deal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the name right here, but there was somebody else in that deal. So they made a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like they're going through a rebuild phase.
Right.
Dame is out; he's injured. Who knows what's going to happen with CJ McCollum? But they already got the ball. They got the ball rolling, so they're getting the trade deadline started. Then we saw another rumor that James Harden is potentially up for trade to the Philadelphia 76ers for Ben Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Sixers right now is not looking to add anyone else. I don't know if Matisse Thybulle is in there or Maxey, but I'm hearing that they don't want to give up either one of those guys in addition to Ben Simmons.
Right.
So, you know, what do you think as far as the rumors go with that?
So what I noticed today when I was on Twitter, and I can't recall which Twitter account it was, the person said that they had heard from a source. They didn't really say who, was that it was going to be a 3-team trade, or the Daryl Morey is going to actually try to get James Harden and Bradley Beal. Still trying to figure out if there's any truth behind that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Philadelphia is actually trying to win a championship this year. The reason why they're saying that, but if they're not willing to part ways with Thybulle or Maxey, I don't know how a deal is going to be executed. You're probably going to have to get a fourth team involved. If it's going to be strictly, let's say, Brooklyn, and the 76ers, and you're not giving up those pieces, you got to be including another team, because those are pieces that people want.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's no doubt about it. Those are pieces that are instrumental in deals like that. Now, if the Wizards are able to somehow find it in their heart of hearts to part ways with Bradley Beal, and and they come to the realization that Beal is not going to be that leader for us going forward, the guy that a lot of people are saying that makes sense for moving a Beal out of this franchise would be Ben Simmons. So I see that there's people trying to say that there's a problem with such deal. Why would there be a problem with bringing Ben Simmons here, in your opinion?
Well, here's what I'm hearing a lot of people saying about Ben Simmons. He's quit on his teammates. He can't shoot. Uh, Basically, he didn't perform like he should have in the playoffs. This guy's is an All NBA defender. He's a 3-time All-Star. He's 25 years old. His contract is cheaper than Bradley Beal's potential contract. I mean, mind you, the salary cap is going up, and now they're saying that this super duper max is going to be going for $246.
Right.
So he's going to be probably making about $45 million in the first year. Let me say this, and let me look directly at the folks, people. We got to stop this talking about, well, he quit on his teammates and this, that, and the third, or what have you. That's just you guys are afraid that Ben Simmons will be a perfect fit here. What is the problem?
Right.
What are you expecting to get for Bradley Beal right now? I think the opportunity of us getting something really good or better than Ben Simmons, I think that possibility has already passed us by. So you got a guy who's potentially able to be, an all NBA talent consistently, and you don't want him because you feel, oh, well, he's quit on his team. Okay, that may not be a good thing that he's sitting there, but the guy is not getting, he's losing money in the process. So you don't think that he would have a change of heart if he goes somewhere else? He needs to change the scenery. You think he's just going to automatically just not play? If he quit on the 76ers, what makes you think he won't quit anywhere else? How do you know that? How do you know he's going to quit anywhere else? That just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, look at the matchup. Look at the comparison between players. Bradley Beal's in his 10th season. Ben Simmons is in his 4th season. Ben Simmons has already done what Beal has done in 4 years that it took Beal to do in 10 years. You're right. For those folks out there who are saying, why would you move Bradley Beal for Ben Simmons? This is it right here. In 10 years, he's going to surpass what Beal has done for us in 10 years. Okay, so just take a look. He's already been to 3 playoffs. We know that the Sixers are a great team, but we know why Beal has been to 5 playoffs. It wasn't just Bradley Beal. It was also John Wall who was the catalyst that took us to those 5 playoff appearances, or
Well,
four, at least four of those playoff
four,
appearances, and then one without him and then he went with Russell Westbrook last season.
Russell Westbrook.
Right. 3 All-Star games. People would argue Bill should have more, whatever. We're not going to argue that. Ben Simmons will finish with more All-Star appearances than Bradley Beal. All NBA selections, 1-1. Ben Simmons is much younger than Bradley Beal, but I think it's safe to say he's an All NBA player. He'll have more All NBA nods. All defensive first team, 2 times. Bradley Beal, 0. All defensive team, just total selections. Bradley Beal hasn't even made a defensive team, period. So not the first team, but he hasn't made a defensive team, period. Steals leader, Ben Simmons, right there at the top. Beal, 0. Rookie of the Year award, Ben Simmons. Beal did not get that. Then you go down to the stats. Now, here's the thing about this, right? I think it's safe to say we already know that Bradley Beal's a better shooter than Ben Simmons. But Ben Simmons does everything else way better than Bradley Beal.
Yeah, he does.
He rebounds better than him. He assists better than him. He's a better defender. He gets in the passing lanes better than him. He blocks more shots. Yeah, that doesn't really say anything, but right here doesn't really say anything, but we're talking about a guy who's athletic and versatile and that can get in the paint and wreak havoc if he needs to help out others on defense. Could you imagine a lineup of Ben Simmons, Rui Hachimura, Denny, Cruz, Gafford?
Oh,
I mean, how do you score on that? That's a defensive nightmare for teams out there who has to worry about defenders from 1 through 5.
that's the kind of lineup you need when you're going against the Toronto Raptors.
Absolutely, because they like to play big. All right, so let's continue. Total points, we know Bill has that because he's been in the league longer. Total rebounds, been in the league longer, but Ben Simmons is already closed in. He can get 400 rebounds in one season. He hasn't played this season, so I think it's safe to say that if he did play this season, he would have already surpassed him there.
Right.
9 times out of 10 in total assists. He would have been right there again this year. He probably would have passed him in assists. Steals, who knows what that number would have been.
I think he would have narrowed the gap.
Yeah, he would have narrowed the gap. And look how many total games we're talking about.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons hasn't even played 300 games in his career yet.
Exactly.
And, that's almost a 400 game difference, So, and then even though he doesn't shoot the ball well, he takes high percentage shots. So for those people who are saying, well, he doesn't shoot the ball well, we know that. So he's not going to be a guy out there taking 3-point shots. Clearly, as you see, he's not a 3-point shooter.
He's not a good 3-point shooter, right?
But he's going to make the smart basketball play by getting to the rim and taking a higher percentage shot.
Exactly.
And I've seen Ben Simmons hit a mid-range jump shot. So it's not like he doesn't have a jump shot at all. He just doesn't have a 3-point shot, which can be said by a lot of people in the league, including some 3-point shooters on this team.
True.
Last but not least, and we won't dive too much deeper. If you look at best seasons, so we know Bradley Beal's a scorer. We've already put that up there. Bradley Beal is going to win that 10 times out of 10. But Bradley Beal's best season. You said what?
Not to cut you off. I said not to cut you off, but everything else after the scoring, Ben Simmons he got him. He already got him, and this is in less games.
Best seasons too. Think about that.
Best seasons. Almost 9 rebounds. Almost over 8.2 assists. steals 2.1. I mean, what are we talking about here?
I
And
mean,
people are going
again,
to saying, "Oh, well, he's going to quit on his team. He's going to quit on his team." Come on, man, stop it, stop it.
I mean, that is irrelevant to the facts. Okay. We know why, we know what happened in Philly. All right. This was a clear, in my opinion, miscommunication between head coach and player, and player. When we talk about Embiid and Ben Simmons has already vented why he feels the way that he does. Right. So if he just doesn't want to play for that organization anymore, I don't look at that. I look at it that you got two sides to the situation. It's not just one side. There was another side. Ben Simmons, as a player, said that he felt slighted by the head coach and the organization. He didn't just make this up out of thin air. He really felt some type of way about it.
Right.
Now how he handles it and how he deals with it, that's everyone else's, they can take that however they want. But I do look at it that the organization has some responsibility in this. It doesn't just fall squarely on the shoulders of the basketball player. What do you think?
I totally agree. I mean, again, he doesn't. One of the things he said was he was pretty upset with Joel Embiid for throwing him under the bus. During that playoff series, and he said, "Hey, I could have threw him under the bus, back in 2019
Against Toronto,
but I didn't." So, what needs to happen really is Ben Simmons does need a change of scenery. I think this location is best for him. He fits into exactly what Wes Unseld wants. He needs a point guard that can actually distribute the ball, who's also going to play defense. Ben Simmons is a point forward. He can defend 5 positions. He's only 25 years old, and he's already a 3-time All-Star. And people are acting like he's a bum because the main thing they're saying is, will he quit on his team? Will he quit on his team? Like, come on, man, stop it. It's the same argument people will probably say with Kyrie Irving. Oh, well, Kyrie Irving did this and that. But when he gets out there on that basketball court and he's playing out of his mind, you can't question his skills. Now, of course, Kyrie Irving is a scorer and Ben Simmons isn't, but you know what those two guys bring when they're on the basketball court.
Right.
These are not bums.
Exactly. I mean, they do what they do their job. That's all you can ask for. My thing is we have so many guys that don't do their jobs right now.
Right.
How much worse could it possibly be bringing an all NBA defender here?
Yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, everybody's complaining about what Spencer Dinwiddie is not doing. Oh man, we need to put him on the block. Dang, he can't do this. He's not driving. It doesn't look like he, is aggressive. He can't do. Okay, well now you have a solution. You have a player that can be aggressive, who can do the things that you say Spencer Dinwiddie can't do, and you don't want him because you feel he's going to quit on the team. Like, you got to make your mind up. Do you want change at the point guard position or do you not?
Right, exactly. And those folks out there know who they are that complain constantly about said player, said point guard, and they aren't welcoming into the idea that we can bring here a better point guard. I think the constant circling around that argument is very contradicting. Yeah, because it's like, why even bring up Spencer Dinwiddie and his problems if you're not willing to upgrade that position? So speaking of Spencer Dinwiddie, as you see here, he's in the trade rumor rankings at 10. And I'll go down this list. I won't make this too long. The Wizards want to move Dinwiddie because he looks like a shell of his former self, and his teammates don't want him there. If you want to go ahead and expound further on that, I know we had touched on it in the podcast, but if you just want to touch on it and elaborate from your perspective a little bit more, what this actually means.
What it actually means is the Washington Wizards realized they made a bad investment. Um, is Spencer Dinwiddie's injured? No, he hadn't said he was injured. I know a lot of people wants to go to that and say, well, he is recovering from an ACL injury. The man didn't say anything about that. He said he was 100% healthy. The thing is, Spencer Dinwiddie is the Wizards are trying to make him be something that he's not, which is a point guard. So now he and Bradley Beal can't get along. Well, I said it in the week 2 of the season that those two players couldn't play together. Now we're finding out they can't get along. Now, the story about his teammates not liking him, I do find it interesting that the organization didn't debunk that, and no teammates came out there and said that they don't have a problem with him or anything like that. So,
well, who in your mind do you think would come to his defense?
I think Montrezl Harrell would come to his defense.
Okay.
I would think Kyle Kuzma would come to his defense.
Okay.
Um,
So you're naming off guys, in my opinion, who's bought into Wes Unseld Jr.'s system.
Yeah, I think the guys who have bought in to his system would come to his defense. They haven't, but I think those guys would come to his defense. If I'm correct, you said that Montrezl Harrell did a cryptic tweet to Dinwiddie, and this was right after his teammates not wanting him around.
Yeah.
I don't see any body language on the basketball court where his teammates don't really mess with him. But what I do see is the body language of Spencer Dinwiddie when he's kind of like beating at his own drum. He's just doing him. And I think he's open to a change of scenery. And I think when he does get traded, we'll probably hear his side of the story, what really was going on in that locker room.
So the Wizards poll that we ran on State of the Wizards Twitter account came out to be 71%. 71% that said they didn't buy the fact that Spencer Dinwiddie's, or the rumors that Spencer Dinwiddie's teammates, didn't like him.
Right.
So, in my opinion, yeah, we don't get a large group of people that vote on our page a lot, but for the select few that do vote and that do participate, it does still give us a number that says that majority of people are not buying the rumors.
Exactly.
So, take that for what it is. People don't believe it. People are not buying it. And I think that says something. It does. It says something. In my opinion, I don't really buy it either. However, we know that not every single player on this team gets along.
Right.
And the most recent rumor with no real confirmation was that Spencer Dinwiddie and Bradley Beal don't like each other.
Right.
Now, is that believable? Yeah. I would say so. I would say that's more believable than the other rumor that nobody on the team likes him. Because
I definitely believe that. Them two don't like each other. It's deja vu. We've been down this road before. We were just down this road for several years where we kept hearing that Beal and Wall had issues. So here's the thing. So Beal and Wall had issues. They did everything they could to say that they didn't. Now, we didn't hear that Westbrook and Beal had any issues, but now we're hearing that Dinwiddie and Beal that they got issues. So you have to ask yourself, is it the point guard or is it the shooting guard? Because, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to answer that. One thing that is apparent is that we've changed one position already 3 times, going on 4, and we haven't changed the other one. So right. All signs are pointing to only one problem, in my opinion, and that's the 2-guard position
that we are not changing.
That's
the root of the problem. So,
but everyone else gets changed out.
So let's stay on that note right there about everyone else gets changed out. So Bradley Beal is out due to a wrist injury. So the last 2 games, The team has played very well. They went right back to the style of basketball that they started out with that made them 10-3. You're seeing them guys out there talking to each other. They're communicating on defense. They're playing defense. They seem more engaged. They're more energetic. Kyle Kuzma comes out saying that he likes Denny. He likes Rui. Indirectly, it's telling the organization, don't trade these guys. I don't know if you saw the video of them practicing earlier. Kyle Kuzma and Denny, they're out there shooting threes one-on-one. You just see camaraderie. That's what you're seeing.
Right.
You're seeing camaraderie. This is without the star player. Again, you just said we went through 3 point guards. We're on a verge of going on a 4th one. You got to ask yourself, is it really the point guard position that's the issue? Or is it the shooting guard that's the issue? Because how is it now? You're seeing all this camaraderie. We're 7-4 without Bradley Beal. So the narrative of, well, this team is not really good without Bradley Beal, well, that's been killed because we're actually a better team without him. We actually play as a team without him. Wes Unseld Jr. is able to coach the team the way he wants to. He seems happy now because he has guys that have bought in.
You see a difference in energy.
You see a big difference in energy, a sense of urgency. You're seeing it. I believe tomorrow night, because I know we're going to get to that, talk about the game, but we're playing against Phoenix tomorrow. I expect us to come out with a lot of energy. I'm not expecting to win, but I do expect us to come out with a lot of energy versus if said player was playing and we come out there looking flat. Because what we have to remind people is just a week ago, said player said he was irritated that he had to go back into that Clippers game. Come on, man. You can't have the star of your team saying stuff like that. You would never hear Kobe or Michael Jordan say something like that.
No, I mean, in fact, it was very selfish of him to make a statement like that. So he got, people recognized it. What I will say about Wizards Twitter, aka Wizards Twitter, is that people are recognizing the selfishness in Bradley Beal. At least I'm seeing a lot more people now talking about it and discussing it amongst themselves on social media that, oh, well, Bradley Beal is this type of player. Bradley Beal is that type of player. One thing I'm going to say, and, I must point it out, is Bradley Beal being in his 10th year here is nothing like the Bradley Beal in his first 5 years. You don't have that humble guy anymore. You see a guy that's probably grown a little too big for the organization even. And the organization has nobody to thank but themselves for this, because when a player gets to a certain stature, a certain level, you get statements like what you just said. You get statements like, I didn't really want to have to come back into the game. You get statements like that. You get a player who, makes unrealistic expectations for the organization. This is what you get. So, me and you, we were much bigger vouchers for Bradley Beal in his first 5 years in the league. I think it's safe to say that we were much bigger vouchers than we have been at least the last, 3 years?
Yeah.
Because even in 2016, 2017, we were big vouchers of Bradley Beal. We just have to make that clear. We always believed that Wall Beal made more sense in the Eastern Conference together than just Wall or just Beal.
Right.
We always did. Remember when Cleveland, in my opinion, was kind of ducking us in a sense, and Bradley Beal called that out. I was siding with Bradley Beal about that. I came to his defense when people were saying, man, what is Beal talking about? I came to Beal's defense. So I don't want people thinking like you and I are constantly just bashing the idea of Beal. What we gave up on Beal was when we saw that the John Wall, Bradley Beal tandem was all Wall's fault.
Right.
And we were like, wait a minute, but there's another guy on this team.
Right.
You know, how is it that we only talking about this guy, but we're giving him all of the praise? Why are we discrediting one, but we're giving him all of the praise?
Right.
That's where we gave up.
Yeah.
Because
That's when things started going left.
Right. Because we realized that, okay, even if the rumors about them two beefing and not getting along aren't true, then prove it when Gang Sign video comes out. Prove it to me that when Gang Sign video came out, you had 5-time All-Stars back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, prove that if you guys didn't have that type of relationship, you know, people are going to say, well, he did after the fact. But, you know, Bradley Beal was totally okay with the idea of moving on and starting what you're seeing right now.
Right.
He was totally fine with it. So we gave him that opportunity. First year, you know, Wall's out. We knew he was injured. He's not coming back. You know, setback on the injury. Bill has another opportunity to lead the following year. You know, now we're in our third year where, you know, after Wall's been traded, you had Russell Westbrook as a teammate. In your third year without John Wall, the full third year, a lot of fans have now come to the conclusion that you are not that guy.
Exactly.
So bottom line is, and I'll wrap this up. It was always about your game. It was never personal. It was always about your game. You know, how is it that we can criticize one player's game, no matter who it is, John Wall, Russell Westbrook, now Spencer Dinwiddie, but we're never criticizing Bradley Beal's game. This is the first year, in my opinion, in his 10 years that he's been here, where you're now seeing everyone start to blame his game. And I'll end it with that.
Yep, I agree. I think I'll try to make mine short. I think a lot of people said his anti-vax comments is what did it for them during the media day. You remember you and I talked about it. It was supposed to be about the team, you know, media day, you know, players coming back, getting ready for the season. And then he talks about anti-vax. He made it about him. And some people said that really rubbed him the wrong way because it made him look selfish because he was focusing on himself. Since Bradley Beal has been the face, he has his own PR department. Okay. Whether that's his wife or whether that's you know who, constantly saying things. Wall never had that. We didn't hear that. Some people say, oh, well, Wall's attitude was bad, this, that, that. Okay, well, we're seeing a bad attitude, not a peep. We're just going to look at him as the golden child. At the end of the day, a divorce has to happen. He's been given 10 years with the team. He's been given 3 years to lead us, to show us that he can actually be the guy. And this man is now asking the organization to pay him a super duper max deal of $246, which can cripple the franchise for the next 5 years.
And if I'm not mistaken, 246 is more than 35% of the cap, isn't it?
It's still going to count as 35% of the cap. It's just the salary cap went up.
Oh, so, but that's projection.
Yeah. But they said pretty much that either way, he's projected to get 246 either way. And that means he will get, I think they said maybe about 45 million a season. That's what it's going to be. The fact of the matter is you have somebody who's not worthy of it asking for this money, telling the organization that they need to prove to him that they want to win. He's saying, oh, well, I would like to play alongside Sabonis, but I'm not asking for the trade. I guess not, bruh, because you asked for Spencer Dinwiddie and now the team has to trade him. And there really is no market for him. And now you're saying you can't get along with this guy. You're probably the reason why his leadership wasn't welcome in the beginning of the season. Again, is it the point guard or is it the shooting guard? Which one is it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty obvious what the problem is. It's the two guard. So a divorce has to happen.
Yeah, and I'll say this, and then we can end it. I know we keep saying, we'll say this and end it, but while you're saying that on an end note, Bradley Beal commanding 35% of the cap was the same argument that folks had about Wall getting his Supermax contract, who took up 35% of the cap. I think we have to. Let
me say this real quick. My fault, my dude. Let me say this real quick. But whose Supermax is cheaper? Whose Supermax is cheaper?
Yeah,
couldn't John Wall did the same thing that Bradley Beal did and say, you know what? No, I'll wait till the next season. Couldn't he have done that?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's already a foregone conclusion that the Wizards would have had to make that decision between the two guys because they wouldn't have been able to afford either one of those guys anyway, playing at these levels. But we're literally talking about getting ourselves out due to cap flexibility, only to put ourselves back in that hole for the same reasons. And I'm just not understanding why people are bending over backwards for this idea that it works. I'm not understanding that. People are going to have to really explain. See, you and I, we agree. But if someone was on this show who is going to explain to me that it makes sense, because their argument is that, we have, we're going to go in a direction that, doesn't put us in a rebuild. They're going to, we're going in a direction where you're constantly building off of, you're putting more building blocks around the franchise player. If those are the arguments, then my next question would be, why do you need 5 years to get to that point? Because that's essentially what we're doing when we sign this guy to his Supermax contract. You're giving him another 5 years to prove to you what we already know. So it doesn't make any sense. I just don't think that whoever we invite on our show can't convince either one of us that direction is feasible for the long term. This isn't a short term. This isn't a short term, situation. This is a long term situation. We're already in mediocre status, and you guys are talking about trading for mid-level role players to continue a mediocre status for the next 5 years. It's not feasible. And he's taking up 35% of the cap. Anyway, I'm sorry, man. I just can't wrap my head around that idea, man. I can't. This is just, that to me just doesn't make any sense. So anyway, we spent a lot more time on that than I wanted to. We were originally supposed to go down this list of the rankings. I'll make it very brief, very quick. Dennis Schroeder at 9. 9 times out of 10, there'll be someone who's interested in him, whether or not they actually move him. Looks like Dallas may be interested. Oh, well, it says Mark Stein heard this week that Dallas Mavericks aren't that into Schroeder, but the Cavs are. Okay. Right. Justin Holiday, the brother of Aaron and Drew, he's also up for, under the trade rumor. Right. Let's see, I'm not sure who's interested in them.
I don't know who's interested in him. Hope it ain't the Wizards.
But he does have 3-and-D skills. It does point this out. But looks like the Pacers are just trying to make moves. They're just trying to get trying to get some contracts off the books. John Collins, John Collins for Atlanta is also up for trade. Man, I would love to have John Collins, man. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Yeah, he's not a bad energy guy. I see they saying that San Antonio and the Mavericks are two teams that's interested in him.
Yeah, he'll probably go to a contender for sure. And I'm sure Atlanta doesn't want him in the Eastern Conference, as to why you're seeing, those rumors about Western Conference teams. Jalen Brunson,
Right.
very solid point guard, very
Yeah,
solid.
He's solid.
Man, I mean, he is a solid player, man.
I don't know if he
Whoever
would work.
whoever trades for him, looks like it says league sources say there are no active trade discussions between the Mavericks and Knicks. Despite the Knicks' well-chronicled interest in luring Brunson to Gotham, I'm told that all suggested notion of trading Brunson to the Knicks to reacquire the 2023 first-round pick owed to New York to complete the Porzingis trade is not currently under consideration in Dallas. The Mavericks regard Brunson as too vital to this season's aspirations to trade him and retain the belief that he wants to be a Maverick long-term. So Dallas doesn't look like they'll be moving him. Our guy, John Wall, at 5.
I don't think he's going to get moved, man.
You think he'll stay put?
Yeah, I think he's going to end up staying put. He won't. He's not willing to. He's not willing to accept a buyout. So I think he's going to stay put. I could be wrong, but I think he'll stay put.
Russell Westbrook at 4.
I mean, here we are. He's a future Hall of Famer, but now he's starting to turn into a journeyman in his later years.
Ben Simmons at 3.
We already talked about it. I told you where he should be at, man. He should be here, but nobody don't want him. But he should be here. He's gonna get moved. I think he should be here though.
Jeremy Grant at 2.
Don't send him here.
And James Harden at 1, who, in my opinion, magically just appeared at 1.
Yeah, he's gonna go to Philadelphia.
Yeah. Morey wants him over there.
Yeah. It's no secret. That's where he'll end up.
All right, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. So our last 2 topics that wanted to discuss. So let's talk about Sashi Brown. Sashi Brown is an executive, or was an executive, over at Monumental Sports. He's now leaving Monumental Sports and returning to the NFL to become an executive over there in Baltimore. Baltimore Ravens has picked him up. It looks like one of their guys stepped down. Forgot that guy's name. Anyway, he's filling in his position now. Was this shocking to you to hear today?
Yeah, it kind of was. Shocking to hear that he resigned. A lot of people are speculating due to the whole
scandal,
getting bonus money from the Cleveland Browns at the time, the tank. And shout out to Troy Halliburton, because he's pretty much said that that's not what it is as to why he stepped down. He didn't want to disclose what's really going on. But him and maybe another guy, I think Ben Becker on Twitter, shout out to him, he also said that wasn't the case. So it's something more deeper. We just don't know. But there's something going on. So since I mentioned Troy Halliburton, he said that he had some tea. He didn't spill it what it was, but it was pertaining to the owner. So I think this Sashi Brown situation is leading up to whatever is going on with Ted Leonsis. But like I said, according to him and a couple of other people on Twitter, they said Sashi Brown's resignation had nothing to do with the Cleveland Browns situation.
It probably didn't, but it probably was a little like, you got to think, this isn't a coincidence. Like,
Right.
this doesn't come out 2 days ago and then 2 days later you just happen to be interested in the NFL position.
Right.
In my opinion, there's a lot of things that we don't know, right? You don't know about relationships. Okay.
Yeah.
So Sashi Brown, for all we know, could have had this position lined up in case something like this does come out. You see what I'm
I think
saying?
so.
He
I think
always,
he did.
right. He always had a foot in the NFL, even though he came out of it to join Ted Leonsis. That's what people forget. He always had a foot in. So, once you're a part of that good old boys club, they look out for each other, and that's what this situation was. But just to go back to what you were saying about what Troy Halliburton said, I did see it. And whether or not there'll be further, information that's put out there later, we have yet, that is yet to be seen. I can only speculate that Ted Leonsis probably heard what happened. He probably questioned Sashi Brown about what happened. And Sashi Brown said, I don't want to disclose that, or I don't want to have any, I don't want, what has happened has happened. I'm not here to disclose NFL business in an NBA arena. You see what I'm saying? What has happened is something totally different, totally irrelevant to my situation here. And I'm speculating that there may have been some disagreement somewhere. And Sashi got on the phone with, people that he's been dealing with probably most of his career. And they said, oh, by the way, the Baltimore Ravens job is available if you need that. And I think he said, well, since I'm already 1 foot in on the NFL side anyway, why don't I dedicate most of my time over there instead of here in basketball?
Well, let me
And
ask you this, my dude.
yeah,
Not to
nothing
cut
more,
you off.
nothing less. Mm-hmm.
Did it make didn't you ever wonder when he was hired? You got a guy coming from football, coming over to the basketball. I mean, you're going from one sport to another sport. Didn't you kind of even question that hire 3 years ago? Like, would it really work? Because even back then when I saw that, I was kind of like, oh, okay, how's this going to work?
Right. Like, what was his responsibilities? No one really knows.
Right. So here's what I'm thinking, and I'm just only speculating. This is just my opinion. Ted promoted Tommy Shepard and Sashi Brown back in November of last year. He promoted these guys. So with this situation happening, and of course people are saying that this situation with the Cleveland Browns is not the reason for his resignation. But with this situation that happened, one thing we know about Ted is Ted don't like to look bad. And at the situation with the Cleveland Browns, it was all about tanking. We know that Ted doesn't want to tank.
Well, let me
Sashi Brown mentioned that to him?
Well, let me say this. Slight correction. It wasn't a Cleveland Browns situation. It was actually Brian Flores' situation. And Brian Flores listed him in paperwork under the lawsuit that he has against the NFL, that he was also an executive who got paid by the Cleveland Browns organization to lose NFL games, right? So that's what the situation was. Brian Flores is ready to blow the gates off of everything, and Sashi Brown's name is listed. So let's just say if he has to appear in court, whatever ties he has currently with the Wizards organization, they're going to question that. They're going to investigate that. You see what I'm saying? So Ted, in my opinion, doesn't want to have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
And Ted probably questioned him about his involvement when he was with the Cleveland Browns. You got to think about it too, man. a couple of years ago when he was hired, no one asked the question why. You're asking that question now.
Yeah.
But nobody asked it then. Why was he hired? Why does he want to come to the basketball side from the NFL side? That
Right.
he had an agenda. He had a motive that maybe Ted just learned about over the past week.
Yeah.
That's it. To me, that's how I view it. Now, again, I have no proof. I'm just speculating, but that's how I view
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
So Ted doesn't want, to rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
And that was going to your point. Ted recently came out and said that, he didn't really want to go in that direction. If you want to just, for our viewers, kind of just touch on, what you believed, in your opinion, Ted was saying in so many words about a potential rebuild.
So what Ted basically said was he can't stomach going through a rebuild. And to me, that seems to be the language that I've been seeing on Wizards Twitter, is that they can't stomach a rebuild. Well, my question to Ted is, why can't you? What's the problem? You don't trust your general manager that you gave an extension to actually do a retool of the team? What's the problem? You didn't tell Capitals fans that you couldn't stomach to do a rebuild. I believe that was 2014, or what year was that when he said that, when he made those comments that, hey, look, we're going to go through a rebuild. It's going to be a tough process. Hang in there. The Caps
2012.
fan, yeah, it was 2012. The Caps fans hung in there. He didn't move Alexander Ovechkin, and they won a championship. Now you're telling Wizards fans you can't stomach.
Well, I think it was before that. Excuse me. I think
Yeah,
it was before that.
I think it was before that when he said that.
It was before that, but he also said the same to Wizards fans in 2012. It was the two 10-point plans that he had. He had one for the Caps, and then he had another 10-point plan for the Wizards later on. But go ahead.
Right. That he can't stomach. So he did the rebuild to go to the Wizards. He did the rebuild back in 2012. Really was I think it was 2011 when he put that 10-point plan out. That was when we acquired John Wall. We drafted him that year.
Yeah.
But now what he's doing is he's going back on his own word, because in one of his 10-point plans, it says if you see something that's not working, don't continue to keep doing it, make a change. Okay, here we are. What we got going on is not working. We got a lot of pieces and they don't fit.
Yeah.
And now you're telling the fan base, I can't stomach
a rebuild.
Okay, right, then what are you going to do? Are you telling us that you're going to go ahead and pay Beal this amount of money? You're going to probably mortgage your future. Does that mean that we should be prepared for you to move Denny, move Rui for another mid-level player, only for us to barely make the playoffs? Or if we do make it and we get eliminated in the first round. So we're going to do that for 5 years.
Yeah, he went.
You're going to have to do a rebuild at some point.
He went against his own plan.
Yeah, he's contradicting himself.
Yeah, he went against his own plan. And I think the whole point of what that plan was about, it was to create a level of mediocrity, because we were at the bottom. If you remember, we were at the pits. So Ted just wanted to get back to even ground. He wanted to get to a point where he felt sustainable. Mm-hmm. Now that we're there, he's making every excuse now to not continue on doing what he said himself we needed to do if we were to ever be in a situation that doesn't work.
Right.
And he's just going against his own word. And, in my opinion, shame on him to do that. Shame on him to do that. So with that said, let's talk about this. If we were to go through a rebuild, you got 3 guys right now. If you move on past Bradley Beal, you got 3 guys in my opinion, that you could build for the future around. That's Kuz, Denny, and Rui.
Right.
So you're not worried about one guy anymore. You're building around a trio.
Mm-hmm.
You're creating your own. Kuz isn't homegrown, but the other two is. You give these guys 3-4 years together. Who knows what happens in the next 3 or 4 years? What you think about the trio?
I actually like the trio. The only thing is with Kuz, I think he has 2 years left on his deal. I think his last year's a player's option.
This year and next
So
year.
I can stomach Kuz. The thing about him that I am concerned about is if you sign him to a long-term deal, then he turns into the LA Lakers Kuz. Then you're trying to offload his contract. What I think the Wizards should do, you keep that trio for now. This season is a wash. Let's just put it out there. It's a wash. See if you can get a top pick. And if you can get that kid, Jaden Hardy, I think he plays for, what school is that he plays at? Purdue or whatever school that is. I think that's Purdue, I believe he plays for. That kid is a stud. Add that on to what you have. Build around that little young core. You can eventually build yourself a Cleveland Cavaliers. Look at the Cavs. Look at where they're built. We should be following that motto. They got Jared Allen. We got Daniel Gafford. They got Mobley. We can develop Rui. Not say he's tall like Mobley, but we can develop him. We got Denny. Now you just need to find your Darius Garland in the draft. Maybe that'd be that kid, Jalen Hardy. Then you got Kuzma. Kuzma can be your Kevin Love, even though he's younger than Kevin Love, but he can be that guy.
Well, look how fast Cleveland turned it around.
Exactly.
Look how fast they did it. People were saying, oh, rebuild this, rebuild that. But Cleveland is proof that you can turn it around very quickly.
Right.
All they did was have one down year with Jared Allen because they traded for him. Didn't they trade for him last year? Or was it 2 years ago? They traded for him last year, right? Because he was a part of that.
They traded for him last year. They traded for him last year because he was part of that Kyrie Irving trade. No, not Kyrie Irving.
No, Harden.
James Harden trade, right?
Yeah,
it was
a part of the Harden trade. So
they traded for him last year,
right? So my thing is just look at Cleveland, for example. They had one down year, but then they turned around and used that pick to draft Mobley. Now they have the duo there in the front court of Jared Allen and Mobley. So it's just that quick. They're saying, oh, well, there's no guarantee you can ever hit on these types of picks. Well, yes, you can. The Cleveland Cavaliers just proved it. But they wouldn't have had him if they didn't have the year that they had last year. So, like you said, if the year's a wash and you don't see this team competing in the playoffs, you need to start thinking about the future. You have to, hey, there's still players. This draft isn't deep. They've already said that this draft isn't deep, but there's going to be talent. There's at least some type of talent in every single draft class. There's some type of talent. Okay. So my point is you gotta start putting the wheels in motion to try to get that talent. And the only way we can do it is by starting to move forward past these guys. Now let me say something real quick about what you said about Kuz. So that's what everybody's afraid of, that he's going to revert back to Lakers Kuz. But this season, he's given us at least more of a good sample size that shows us that if you put him in places that makes him successful, then maybe he won't revert back. See, Kuz only became Kuz of the Lakers because LeBron got there. But before LeBron got there, he was the Kuz that you're seeing right now. That's why they kept him. That's why LeBron was like, we're going to trade everybody but Kuz. All right. That's why they got rid of everybody else, They kept Kuzma because they saw the upside that Kuzma had. Now Kuzma's actually bringing that upside to the Wizards at this very moment in time. Here's my only concern. All right, my only concern is when you start adding pieces and Kuzma tends to fall back a little bit and he can't do what he's doing right now because he's playing behind other players, then yes, he may revert back.
Yeah,
there may be some concern.
That's why I say, keep him for now, use him for now to develop these young guys. But when it's time to sell them, you got to sell them, and we got to be proactive about it.
But even
so
then,
I think that's what important.
But even then, I mean, let's disagree on this one because people saying, why don't y'all disagree about something? We'll disagree. We'll disagree on this one. My question is, why would you sell him now if you're not going to get anything for him? Like, what selling him high at this point means if you can't get anyone for Kyle Kuzma right now? What does it mean?
Well, I'm not saying sell him this season, but I'm saying when he goes into that last year of his deal and he's playing this way, if Rui and Denny are ready to go, and you don't want to, because you got to think about it. We got to sign Rui. We're going to have to sign Denny. How much money is Kyle Kuzma going to want in probably, let's say, 2 years?
Shit, it ain't $45 million.
Well, it ain't $45 million. You're right. But how much? How much is he going to want? What if you did draft a young player, a young point guard or a young two guard that's out there killing it? You got to be able to sign him too. Now, I know Kisper is going to come cheap, but you're going to have to sign him. Or let's put it this way. Let's say the Wizards did execute a trade with Golden State. Moody is here. Moody's playing out of his damn mind. It's time to re-up him. You got to choose Kuz, Moody. It's going to be pretty easy. Moody is younger. You can pay him a lot longer. Kuz is 26? I think he'll be 27 this year.
Yeah, so he hasn't even tapped into his prime yet.
He's entering his prime right now, and I'm not saying that we should move him at this moment. Use him, but at some point you're gonna have to move him. Just move from him because he's not really a part of the future. It's kind of like when we had that disagreement about Dinwiddie. When I said Dinwiddie is not really a part of the future, Kuz is gonna kind of fit in that category at some point.
I mean, then that point would be now because if you're saying because Dinwiddie's older than Kuz. Yeah. But not by much. I mean, Kuz is, like you said, 27. He's entering it now. So essentially, what you're saying is sell high on him between now and next year when he's going into a contract year. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, if Kuzma is not asking for anything ridiculous as far as money wise, then all by means keep him. But if he's asking for something that the organization looks at like, okay, well, that may tap into Denny's money. We can't do that. Or that may tap into Corey Kisper's money. We may not be able to do that. Then you have to look at, okay, well, Kuz, we may have to send you somewhere else.
Right.
Plus two,
No, go ahead.
What was you going to say?
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
No, so plus two, you got to think about it. With Kuz hitting his prime years, he's already an NBA champion. So who's to say that he's not going to want to taste that again? Because we're not winning a championship no time soon. So even he's going to probably say, you know what? I want to be able to contend for a championship somewhere else. We'll have to accommodate him. I think it's only right.
Well, he's looking at the opportunity. So he's at the point where in his career, he's not going to get a better situation for himself. And I think he knows that. I think a lot of people know that at this point. If he is going somewhere else, he's not going to be doing what he's doing for us right now. And that's the point. The point is Kyle Kuzma is doing more for us than he would do elsewhere. And I think that has to be commended because he has to make someone like Bradley Beal look expendable. So no need to talk like, he's not beneficial when we trying to get another guy out the door. Kyle Kuzma is the only guy right now who, in my opinion, can do that.
Well, as
So
far as I'm concerned, that dude is already out the door anyway, so it don't really matter.
yeah,
All we need.
but you need a sell job. That's the problem. There's no sell job. Bradley Bill is the sell job. If you don't have nobody else to sell getting past Bradley Bill other than Bradley Bill, then you're gonna be stuck with Bradley Bill. It's just that simple.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. It just all depends on, but it still goes back to the owner. Even with Kuzma playing the way he's playing, and Kuzma's kind of telling the organization not to move on from Rui and Denny, we're still hearing, oh, well, Bill hasn't asked for a trade. The Wizards are still reluctant on trading Bradley Bill. We're still hearing that. And I'm thinking to myself, what more do you need to see? So it kind of looks like it doesn't make a difference what some of these guys are doing. If the owner is telling his fan base he's not willing to stomach a rebuild, well, let's say retool, because it's not really a rebuild.
Right, retool.
Retool, then we're kind of like just talking for no reason. But when it comes down to Kuz, I like what he's doing right now. I'm not saying move him right now, but I'm saying when it gets to that time, because there's going to be a time period, if he's asking for something ridiculous, because the salary cap is only going to continue to go up, and Kuz could probably ask for $30 million. Let's say he's 28 asking for $30 million. Some people say, oh, well, that's not really a lot of money. And it's not really a lot of money. But if you got other younger players that you want to try to retain, maybe Kuzma doesn't fit into your plans maybe 2 years down the road. You just never know.
Understood. So 10 years, what, 6 months? How long has Kuz been here? 6, 7 months? That's the problem. The problem is that Kuz just hasn't been here long enough. There's not going to be a player that comes through that door tomorrow that's going to sell Ted on moving past Bradley Bill, because Bradley Bill's been in this organization for 10 years. The only guy that he thought was going to do that decided he wanted to leave before selling him on the idea that you needed to move on past Bradley Bill, and that's Russell Westbrook, who Ted Leonsis eventually got upset about because he said that he didn't want to be here anymore. So that's that. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate, but we are where we are, and that's why we talk about it. But so and I'll end it with this. I think we're kind of over time because I think there was a subject that we went over and it just went all over our time. But the last thing I'm gonna bring up, and we'll end it with this. Our next 3 games are our next 4 games. So we got the Suns at home, the Heat at home, the Nets at home, and then we got Sacramento at home. So we got 4 straight home games. What are you expecting out of these 4 home games? And do you see us, having somewhat of a streak after that Sixers win?
I again, like I said, with the Phoenix game, I expect us to come out and play with a lot of energy, play a lot better. I'm not putting a W beside that. I think we would lose a game. I saw on Real GM, but somebody said that they actually like our chances that we might win that game. We don't have an answer for CP3. Everybody knows that. So Devin Booker will be playing. I think he didn't play the last game. They're just a matchup problem for us. We played the Miami Heat. I believe Kyle Lowry is back now. Bam is back. They're going to be a matchup problem with us, but I think defensively, that's going to probably be a defensive matchup. The only game that I see us winning is Sacramento. I think this time around we will win that game. Wait, is it Sacramento? No, it's the Brooklyn
Sacramento.
Nets.
Well, we got Brooklyn, then you got Sacramento.
Oh, okay. So we play Brooklyn the day of the trade deadline. So that should be a very interesting game because there may be some players not playing that day because they may have gotten traded. So we'll find out who those players are. Everybody knows who me and Dwayne wants gone, but we'll have to wait. But against Sacramento, I think that's a winnable game. I think if that said player is not playing, Wes Unseld will be able to coach this team the way he wants to. So I think I'm going to see a lot more effort these next few games coming up. I'm not expecting W's, but I am expecting to see a better effort.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I definitely feel like that too. I see us losing against the Suns. I think that's safe to say. Miami and Brooklyn is going to be tough. But the Nets aren't playing that good. The Nets are struggling right now. So there's a good possibility we could play them tough and actually win that game. Who knows if Harden's even going to be playing by then?
Right.
He may be traded by then. And then, Sacramento at home, they'll probably have a new team as well. Depends on what they do at the trade deadline. Depends on what we do. We don't even know who we gonna have in the next 3 games after this week is up. So, these next games, I think it solidifies where we are in the season. I think 9 times out of 10, if this is a 0 for 4, home stretch, we need to go ahead and call it what it is. It's a season. Call it a season. It's a done deal. We would be officially probably 4 or 5 games back of a play-in, and it would be time to wrap it up, man.
Right.
I mean, sure. There's other things that you could be positive about. Last season we had that little, second half run, but I don't see that happening this year.
Yeah. I mean, and we got to factor in, this team hasn't gone on their West Coast trip yet either. So I don't know. I mean, we still haven't seen Golden State yet, and we still haven't seen the Lakers yet. People, we know the Lakers are struggling, but they're still the damn Lakers. So.
Right. Exactly. So that
Speaking of which, before we end, since I mentioned about the Lakers, so LeBron James said that if Bronny James comes into the league in 2024, he will leave LA to go play alongside Bronny James. You tweeted, if Bronny James is drafted by Washington, would anybody be upset LeBron James join him? So let me ask you that. Because I know you've been anti-LeBron for a long time. Would you be open to LeBron James coming here if Bronny is drafted by the Wizards?
No. No. Just that simple for me. No. I mean, he's welcome up until the front door. And then at the front door, we got other places in DC he can go visit. He can go, up the street, go eat. But when he steps foot in that arena, man, to me, he's not a Wizard. He'll never be a Wizard. His career is not like MJ's. MJ, when he became a Wizard, he was embraced because of the fact that he just came off of 6 championships. Yes, he was a bullets killer. Everybody knew who he was as a player, but LeBron, in my opinion, is going to try and do everything MJ did. He's going to try to do what MJ did, but do it better. So even if LeBron does become a Wizard, in my mind, all I'm going to be thinking about is the fact that, he wants to take the Wizards to the playoffs to make MJ look bad because MJ couldn't take the Wizards to the playoffs. That's exactly how I'm be thinking about it. I mean, and that's saying something because at that time, LeBron would be 40 years old, right? 39, 40. So Jordan was 39, 40. By then, LeBron would probably be the all-time scorer of the NBA. He would have probably surpassed Kareem. Whether or not he did it in the Lakers or a Wizards jersey is one, 2 different things. But he would definitely have aspirations to play here at that time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know. You never know. I mean, so we'll see.
Fair enough.
But that concludes this episode of State of the Wizards. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to episode 19. It was a long one, but it was an enjoyable one. Make sure you guys catch us on at DC Hoopla's podcast. Check out Wiz Takes podcast at Wizards Mafia, and continue to support State of the Wizards. Subscribe, comment, and like. You got anything for the folks?
Nah, I don't have much of anything. Just keep watching our show. Keep tweeting us. We'll tweet back. Shout out to all you guys, all the followers. Dcan already said it, so you guys have a good one.
Peace.